I'd like to hear from the Solicitor's Office and the Sheriff's Department before I make any decisions regarding bond for Mr. Underwood.
Yes, sir. May it please the court. Judge, just to clear up any issues regarding the warrant, the warrant is resisting arrest. However, I think what Mr. Underwood's maybe misunderstanding about that is that the resisting arrest also encompasses resisting the service of process or a writ. That is the specific portion that is being dealt with in this particular case. This situation arose when representatives from the Sheriff's Office went out to the residence where Mr. Underwood was staying and attempted to serve him with paperwork for an eviction. Mr. Underwood refused to accept that paperwork, so at that point, officers came back, obtained that warrant, and went back to serve that warrant. So that's how we got to where we are with regard to the warrant. Living with him at that residence, and I believe the primary person at that residence is the mother of Mr. Underwood's child. I don't believe they're married, but they do have a child in common. Certain statements were made while the situation was going on yesterday with regard to the standoff. A gun was obtained by law enforcement at the time of the arrest. Mr. Underwood did say that was his weapon and intimated to officers that it was not for use on officers, but it was for use on his child's mother. Given those circumstances, there was also some marijuana in the residence that was turned over to narcotics as well at the time of the arrest. I don't know that any charges have been made with regard to those drugs. That's something that we'll be dealing with at a later date. But for today's purpose, what the state would be asking for is a cash or surety bond. We would request a bond of approximately $50,000. And we also believe that based upon the statements that Mr. Underwood has made, intimating potential harm towards his child's mother, we believe that GPS monitoring, ankle monitor, is appropriate in this case. We would also ask that the bond specifically include provisions prohibiting him from going to her place of work and to her residence. And certainly we can furnish the addresses to the monitoring company so they can go ahead and plug that into the monitor so they'll be notified if Mr. Underwood goes to either of those places. I think that's all we're asking for today. Any other issues certainly can be taken up at a preliminary hearing or at the appropriate time later on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Officer McCreary?
I really don't have anything else to add to what he said.
Nothing to add?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Mr. Underwood, I find the solicitor's request for a cash or surety bond of $50,000 to be reasonable accordingly. I'm going to impose that cash or bond for your release.
I find it absurd that you haven't even obtained any information from me based off the solicitor. You're gonna believe everything he says.
Okay.
And you're gonna go ahead and set a surety bond on me, on a misdemeanor.
Okay. Are you finished? Okay. If you'll hear me out, please. Thank you. Additionally, I'm going to place a requirement for a GPS monitor prior to your release on bond. I'm going to restrain or restrict your contact with your domestic partner or the mother of your child, whichever best describes her, to include her place of work and her residence. Additionally, I'm going to prohibit your physical or constructive possession of firearms or ammunition at any time for any reason. And I want to make sure that you understand, when I say constructive possession, I mean there's to be no firearms or ammunition in any vehicle you're being transported in or riding in unless it's...
What grounds? What grounds? Are you prohibiting me from firearms?
I am.
Why? What grounds?
I am. Because I have that latitude given the severity of...
What reason is your
Sir.
Why are you standing behind it that you're gonna
Mr. Underwood,
firearms?
Mr. Underwood, in this court, one person talks at a time.
From the solicitor's office and the sheriff's office.
You're gonna find yourself in contempt of court,
I've already been in contempt.
Okay.
Not back here, sir.
all right? Are you gonna allow me to finish? Constructive possession of firearms or ammunition means you will not have it in your possession, it won't be in the house or the room that you're staying in, it won't be in the vehicle that you're being transported in, unless we're talking about transport by law enforcement. Do you understand that? All right, that's all, you're dismissed. Officer, if you'll remove him.
You can't look at me, can you? You can't look at me, can you? Which one? Which one?
Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, sir? Okay, thanks very